And thank you, Amy, and welcome everybody. So great to see you this afternoon, and we're so excited for today's animation workshop with featuring stop animation. Some of the software being used is Brush Ninja, Flip Anim, Stop Motion Studio, and we're so grateful to Katie from the Curly, Ian from the Higginson Lewis, and Naomi from the McKay to talk us through this. And yeah, go ahead and take it away. Thank you so much for leading today's workshop.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. And so I'm going to cover, I'm going to be covering a little overview of Brush Ninja Animation App, which has been just a super fantastic, easy to jump into app. And I have a little slideshow to show some student work to get us going, and then I'm just going to show you kind of a quick crash course on using it. So, just since I just started using two screens, does everybody see a little presentation here? Okay. All right, so this is some student work, and it's actually one of the earliest ones that was done, and it's still one of my favorites. And there's some really fantastic motion and movement here and beauty, but actually if you watch it once or twice through, you'll notice that it's actually not true stop motion animation. It's actually a series of little paintings, which I didn't, guide the student that way. It's kind of just the way that it sort of shows one kind of a philosophy behind making animations, and a lot of the kids will gravitate toward that. They'll think of it as individual little paintings or pictures shown in a sequence, as opposed to necessarily true stop motion, but it often really works. This one's one of my favorites. I feel like it could just be a little advertisement on TV for California avocados. Bing! Again, not like super intense true stop motion animation, but using the transform tools to make a hand-drawn thing and then manipulate those things that you've drawn, and we'll see how that works. This one I love, super simple. One of my fourth graders actually, and this is no hand-drawn work at all, but it's creating shapes, stock shapes, and then transforming and manipulating them. This is getting a little more towards actual real stop motion animation. Nice colors here too, I think. This is a nice example of using a found image, an internet image, which can be brought in as a background. And this student found this, really sublime little view of cherry blossom tree, and then animated the cherry blossoms actually falling off of them. I think if the speed was changed and increased on this, that alone would have actually just tightened it up a little bit. She may still be able to work on it though. And this is a little more technical one. One of my sixth graders did this, and it's going to play again. There it goes. This is really getting a bit towards real stop motion animation, including utilizing an emoji of a donut there, which gets eaten, and then the curtains close. So you can see that there's a lot of manipulation of the hand-drawn stuff here. This one's just kind of a lot of dazzling color, but a lot of motion. It kind of gives me that Electric Company, Sesame Street vibe, I feel. It's sort of an Among Us theme, which is really popular with the kids. There's been many of those. One of the amazing things about Brush Ninja is obviously they are GIFs. GIF, still don't know how to pronounce it. And the fact that they just run on a loop like this is just kind of mesmerizing, and it kind of makes even more out of less, if you know what I mean, the fact that it runs on a loop. Is actually by another one by the first artist, and really some amazing movement going on here. It's another kind of a mesmerizing one to look at. Good color change. This is a combination of very hand-drawn and also using like the drawing tool to get more accurate straight lines, and we'll look at that in a minute. This one I like. The bigger it is, the better it looks. I'd like to see it on like a big TV sometime. I haven't been able to do that yet. You transform the idea of the Jamaican flag colors, so it's kind of the colors blasting around and becoming the flag. So it's real. I think of it as real stop motion animation, but on this real like fluid level. And I love how the colors just stab through like that. This artist is a really slow, meticulous draft person when he draws, and he spent lots of time just completely zens into drawing one panel, then another panel. So again, it's a tendency towards creating separate paintings that just then appear animated. And so this was like 6 or 8 frames. And though nothing is actually animated in a stop motion fashion, it has this incredibly animated feel. And I just love that. Again, changing the speed, which is very easy to do as a last tune-up on something, often really changes it a lot. And this one, it really had that effect. And again, same artist here. What happened this time was, again, spends a lot of time drawing, but I try and get the students to upload anything they've worked on that day so that things don't get lost. Also, I want them to be in the habit of, hey, show us what you're working on now. Explain when you upload it to Padlet that this is changing. This is 2 frames only. We just cranked up the speed, and suddenly it was finished. This is a slower feel. Student really has a feeling of trying to create this anime effect where the hair is almost a character in itself. 2 frames again on this one. The speed makes all the difference. It looks like more than it is. It looks like there's an extra frame in there showing the eyes half closed, but no, it just worked. This was a 4th grader as well, I think. This is a fun one, showing that you can bring in an animation from the outside, from an image from the internet. It allows you a certain amount of stock images, so there's nothing too racy that will end up being brought in. It's very controlled and contained. This is a fun one, and doing this one breaks the kids out of the idea of working in one flat plane and bringing something that's progressing towards the audience out of the camera and or out of the frame. This one could be one of my favorites. It's 2 frames, and I mean, that's all it needs to be. It's just people just laugh whenever they see this. And this next one is the same one transformed into a different idea. And I really like this one too. I mean, I kind of just can't stop looking at it. And it's actually more frames. This one's more frames than it seems to be. If you really stare at the beams or the rays coming out, you can see that they're really animated. They're not just like 1 frame each. Pretty funny stuff. One of my AU Strand kids was a tremendous draftsman, and I've really wanted him to branch out. I wanted him to put his hand-drawn work into Sketchpad 5.1 and do ink work there. But he's really a big fan of manga, anime, and really was getting to the heart of making some action here. 6th grade, I think. Again, one of my AU Strand students, first animation he ever did, I didn't even see him work on it. It just emerged. He shared his screen towards the end of the class, and I had taken a chance. A terrific artist, loves to draw. He came out with this. Complete understanding of stop motion animation right out of the box. Another of his, which is a different approach, it's sort of just, it's not quite the same animation level. It's like a totally different approach to just speeding up a few images. And again, same artist here. Really good sense of movement. I love that the character bounces around the frame a little bit. Just doing that sort of adds more to the animation. And this final one is one of my favorites because it represents something that I've been trying to get a handful of my students to do, which is the background for this was created from scratch. He created it in Sketchpad 5.1, so digital painting app, and then imported it as the background for the animation. So now it's 2 mediums, and I'm looking to get 3 mediums combined. She actually has more plans to finish this. This is kind of the first stage of doing this. She's going to render the meteorites or whatever they are, and actually the rings as well. She wants to sort of draw them in Sketchpad and import the individual parts and animate them in Brush Ninja. We're going to see how that works. All right, so that's some student work, and I'm going to try and just give you a quick overview of basically getting into Brush Ninja. Now, the student's going to initially treat this as a simple drawing app, and it certainly is. It's very simple and quick to use. It starts off, you're in the brush tool. It starts with this pink color. I would always tell kids, make a conscious decision. They always start just drawing in pink. And it feels to start like, just a really simple, limited drawing app, which is actually good. It feels that way. Kids just like to get on there and play around with it. But, at that point, they can understand that down here, we can add other frames, and it's really easy and graphically simple to explain the idea that stop motion animation is created by multiple frames. So let's start with something very simple, and that's what I try and get the kids to do. This is the brush size, and if we want to make something very easy to animate, we can click this, make a dot by clicking right in the middle of the frame. I can now duplicate this frame many times, because what I'm trying to do is actually get the kids to do less hand drawing and more manipulation of the tools in the app. In digital painting, I try and get to do the opposite thing. Don't use so many tools, kids, please, because let's not let the app do everything for us in digital painting. But in animation, which is so labor intensive, let's let the app do it for us. Okay, if I now select my number 2 screen and I use the select tool, I can now transform this image. I can select it, and I can do all types of things with the image itself. I can enlarge it. I can stretch it and squash it, which gets towards squash and stretch animation. I can rotate it and move it around like this. Now, if I were to draw other images like this, or in fact, let's do a different example. I'm going to start a new animation, which will automatically erase your old one. So I'll start with that same item. I'll transform it. And let's make a simple face out of it. So I now have 3 items here. So if I wanted to do anything with that, for instance, move it around the page, I can move everything and adjust everything, or I actually cannot have everything. So what I might want to do is select all of these items, and I can group them. So now they've become one unit. And now that can all be moved around or changed. And if I want to ungroup them, I can now do that. And then I can manipulate each one individually. So let's copy that out several times. And so again, you can see that I've avoided doing any real hand drawing. Not that that's a bad thing to do hand drawing, but you're going to get the kids to making stop motion effects much faster if you get them to utilize the tools that are there to transform. So you can see some really simple animation taking place, nothing too spectacular, but to introduce them to the sensibility of transforming an item minutely in real stop motion fashion. Now, not really, I don't know if someone else is sort of keeping track of the time. I'm probably not really doing a good job of that. But one thing that's really important to remember is to always turn on this device here, which is the onion skinning mode. And that, of course, lets us know what has happened in the last frame so we can know what to make in the next frame. So this time I'm not duplicating a frame. I'm actually just adding a new frame each time. And that's going to give us this simple thing here. Now, if I want to change the speed, I click change the speed, and I can accelerate this, and I can see it changing in real time. And then when I think that looks pretty good, we can check this out. And if we wanted to, I also encourage the students as a final quick tune-up, so you've changed the speed, let's just quickly add a new color to the background. And now every single background, every single frame will have that, and any new frames that we add will also have that color, which just oftentimes is something that will make the animation a little bit nicer. So other tools that are available up here for more precise drawing, the line tool. We draw very straight, precise lines, which is good if a lot of the students' work is, it's very difficult to draw, as with most drawing apps. It's actually difficult to draw with the trackpad. This can help with that. We can create all types of stock shapes and manipulate those using the shape tool as well, the select tool. I can grab these, I can shrink them, I can stretch them, I can rotate them. This allows me to pick an object, so I can sort of, instead of having to select it, this makes it much easier to select the one individual object and then manipulate it. There is also a text feature as well. It says women's because this was part of figuring out some for International Women's Day. We can also choose from a small variety of font sizes, and those can also be all manipulated as well with the select tool. So another thing that I would get the kids to do is utilize the text, utilize the text capability so that they'll get much more polished work if they avoid handwriting things, unless you're really specifically going for this handwritten sort of a comic style. So I do encourage the kids, in this case, to actually utilize all the tools. Now, a few last little tricks that are really good to know about is this. Again, we can select the background, use your own image. And what I would like to select this time here is a piece of work that was done by one of my students in Sketchpad 5.1. So I can't think of a better digital painting to now consider transforming into an animation. You would not be able to actually manipulate this creature that's in here, but you could draw another one very easily. And the drawing style that's offered by Sketchpad is actually, in this case, going to have a very similar sort of a texture and quality. And we could duplicate this frame, select the creature, which wasn't drawn very well, but this could now be moved and manipulated from there. So now a final thing to think about with Brush Ninja animation is it's really easy to handle the final product and import it, to export it and save it. A lot of controls just were changed last week. The save and export has been updated to be much better. We can now save this. You could rename it here. If we save this file, it'll go into the student's computer and they'll have it on the desktop. They can then reopen it as a Brush Ninja file to work on later. If you want to export it to Padlet, we would click Export Animated GIF. Luckily, this has been made a lot less confusing just recently. Before, there were like 4 options. They were very technical, and many times kids would save it as a file, upload it, and it didn't play as a GIF. Again, we could rename it here. Export as animated GIF takes a little bit of time, but and I'm just going to let that play out for a moment. But there's only 2 selections to choose from after this, and we almost always want download animated GIF. And if I open up Padlet link, start a new post. There we go. Click upload. Pick file. It'll show up on the kids' Chromebooks. They need to look in images or recent. And I'm going to have trouble finding it right now, I think. We could actually just select this one. And you'll see that it goes right in. And it's wonderful that they just play when Padlet or something like this opens up. They just play. If, although I haven't actually done it, if we use not this option, if we use the other option, not download as animated GIF, but save it as a video, apparently that makes it friendly for uploading to social media like Instagram or Facebook, something like that. It doesn't support the GIF platform.
So, Ian, I'm gonna go ahead and pause you there and see if anybody has questions for you about Brush Ninja or about or for any of the other panelists who might be familiar with it. We will have an opportunity at the end for questions as well, but if there's something specific about Brush Ninja that people want to ask, Kathleen's asking, is there a way to add sound?
So that's an awesome question. At this point, I'm going to say no, but I don't totally know. Like, I'm not convinced there isn't one. There's not basically a direct line to doing that in the app itself. If it is there, don't embarrass me by telling there is, because I haven't seen it yet. But
One thing I have seen people do, Joe Zaremba used Brush Ninja for Youth Art Month content. And I think he, what was the name? One of the music teachers presented in our swap about a like a music creator. Ian, do you remember the name of that off the top of your head?
No, I do. It's called it's not Beatbox. It's
Incredibox.
Incredibox. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think he just edited the 2 together in iMovie, so that's always an option to add sound to your anime.
That would be perfect, because actually, and that's like the best question, I think, because honestly, I think that's the one major thing it's missing as a sort of a multimedia experience. And so many of these like need to have some type of little soundtrack. So there you go. That's the thing to explore next for sure.
If anybody has more questions, you can always add them into the chat, but I want to make sure that we have time for our other 2 presenters. I think up next, Katie, were you up next or Neil?
Yeah.
Okay. So Katie's presenting on Flip Anim. Is that how you say it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
We always spell correct it wrong. Like autocorrect always changes it to something else. So
Yeah, it does when you type it into the Google search. Okay, so let me just share my screen here.
Thank you, Ian, for kicking this off.
Yeah, Ian, that was great. I actually learned a couple things. I love the examples that you gave. So here's Flip Anim. It's similar to Brush Ninja. I would say that it is more basic. It was like the first one that came out, and then someone saw it and was like, I'm going to make Brush Ninja. But here are some student examples. These are 4th grade. They're very different from one another, but I love like the simplicity of the program. And it is very similar to Brush Ninja. And then here are some 3rd grade examples. And this student actually created layers within her animation, and I'll show you how to do that because there is an option to create layers, so you can just build. And then this one I love because it's just, again, like this one needs music to it. So I love the idea of like having like music attached to some of these apps because like some of them are just, they just need it. And then I created this PowerPoint and I can share it with everyone. It pretty much gives like a good rundown of like all the tools and what they do. So I'll just go over those in the app. But I just wanted to let you know that I did create this so that you have like a handy tool that you could share with your students if they, you know, I tried to take screenshots of like everything just so you could see what each of the tools do and different things within the program. And then saving the work, I'll go over that. It's not as easy as Brush Ninja. It's actually a pain. And so that's why I'm not a huge fan of Flip Anim. I like Brush Ninja a little bit more, but I did get some good feedback from the students about this app. They liked it because they could pick colors, which they couldn't do in Brush Ninja. So like if you tried to match a color, they couldn't do that in Brush Ninja. They also liked how there was a bucket tool to fill in everything. And there's no bucket tool or like paint bucket tool in Brush Ninja. And then they also thought that there was more tools to use. Some of the cons were that there was no text tool. So like Ian was typing out, had women on his, there's no way to do that. You have to hand write everything. And then there's more steps to save the work. So that's definitely a con. And then I just did like a poll and like, this is what they said, like, so 47% thought it was awesome, 53% thought it was okay, and they liked Brush Ninja better, and then 0% thought it was, didn't think it, so that was good. No one thought it was awful. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So let me go into the program here. So when you go to flipanim.com, it shows up like this. What I like to do is to go straight to the beta editor. Because you can still do everything pretty much in this form, but it's kind of annoying because all your tools you have to, if you do a mouse over, then it shows up, then you select it. So I think that's a little bit more annoying for me personally. Some people might like that. I also found out that some students can't use the beta editor, so they were forced to use this version. So just know that like if they can't, then they can absolutely use this, and it's the same thing. It's just they have to like use the mouse over. So I'm going to click on the beta editor so all the tools just show up. So when I click on that, then I can see everything. And I like that feature a little bit better. Oh, and it actually showed up with a student was using my computer to do this one, so you can actually see the layers that she made here on this one. So this is actually a really good example. So this was actually, she built all of these different layers in this one frame. So it was very tedious. Like when she was working, it was just like, I'm going to do this thing. Okay, now I'm going to place this one. I'm going to place this one there. And like Brush Ninja that has the onion skin, Flip Anim has it automatically. So I'm just going to actually go to, I didn't realize this would just show up on my computer, but that's good to know. So if kids are working on something, I think it automatically goes back to what they were working on. So if I go to save, I guess I don't really need to save it. I can just trash it because I already have it. And so the trash can, that's going to delete everything. All right, so I have a new frame. So this is what comes up. It's just like a grid paper as the background. And these are the different tools. So you have pencil and like Brush Ninja down here, you can change the thickness of the tool and you have all your colors here, and you can also customize the color by clicking on the palette, and then you can move it around to a specific color that you would want. There's an eraser tool, so you can erase little bits. This is the paint bucket one. So it doesn't even look like a paint bucket. It looks like a claw to me, but this is actually the tool that you would use to fill in the whole page like a paint bucket. This is the eyedropper. So this is what's going to color match. So if I click on this, if you watch down at the bottom where there's the paint palette or the colors, the one that's selected turned to that color. So if a student is trying to specifically match a certain color, then they can do that by using this tool. This one is there's no names for these, by the way. I just kind of made them up when I was doing my guide because I didn't know like what to actually call them, because when you put your mouse over it, there's no description. So I just called this the highlighter tool. I don't know. This one is interesting because it will, those markers that, so you color in one color and then you have a white marker and then you color it over it and it changed colors. Okay, so that's what this tool does. So I called it the, oh wait, no, it's not that one. Maybe it's, I don't know. I thought maybe this one, okay, maybe because I colored in the background. That's what it was. Okay, so if I just start over here. Oh, you can also go back. So it does color on the background. So it fills in whatever you've colored. There we go. So there's where it works. So if whatever you've painted, it will go over. It won't go over the notebook part. So that's how it kind of works. So if you're trying to make like stripes or something, then that would work like that. And then you have a paint roller here. And it's kind of similar to this tool, I would say. And then you have your rotation tools and different ways to move things around. So I can just move the whole thing. Unlike Brush Ninja, I can't like auto select certain things, like the whole thing just moves. And you can rotate things. So this is like where you could really start to animate. So you could like have it like that, and then you can add a frame and see that's where the onion skin is. So I don't even need to select anything. It already shows up of what I did previously. I can also take away a frame by pressing this minus, and then I can duplicate a frame. So that's nice if like you've spent all this time creating a background or something for your animation and all you want to do is like just change one thing. So that's really helpful. So let me just add a frame here. And the other thing you can do is I can make it bigger or smaller. So that's also really
Katie, can you manipulate the order of the frames? Like if you wanted to re-add like an element, could you like copy and paste it back in at some point?
Like up here, you mean? Like, can I?
Yeah.
I can't. I think you'd have to like erase, because unlike Brush Ninja where I could like select like a specific part as if like this was like a whole shape. So like this whole thing, I would just have to erase if I didn't want that in there. So again, it's a little bit more tedious to use, I think, just because it's more basic, let's just say. And then the other things are like right here. So the hint frame or the onion skin, you can take that away if you don't want it. But I would suggest keeping it just because it's very helpful to know especially if you're just trying to move one thing very, very slightly to create that animation. And here is where you can create your layers. So if I am in a new frame here, or let's say I'm on this one, if I hit this plus, there's where I can have another layer. So you can, this is, I guess, where you can start to have your own separate lines of things that you want, or whatever images of things that you're going to draw. And then you can take them away if you don't want it. So if I didn't want that, I would just hit this minus. And then it will ask you, are you sure you want to remove? Yeah, okay. So it just removed that layer. if I do this eyeball, that would hide that layer. So if you're trying to see what it would look like without that specific layer, then you can just hit that eyeball and then it would hide it. Trash can, clear selected frames. So I think that would just, okay, yeah, so that just clears the whole thing again. This button, I cannot figure out what this one does. I've asked students to try to figure it out for me, and no one really knows what it does. So if I hit that and I hit this, we don't know. So that's one thing I've, I guess like, I don't know. I'm just not really quite sure what it does. Oh, I guess it merges the layers down. Yeah, okay. So if I do like multiple, so I'm actually learning what that one does as I'm teaching this. So I think like, yeah, it just merges them, the layers, whatever I did down. And I think that is it for the tools. And then when you go to save, you hit save. Oh, I forgot. You can see what it looks like by hitting that play button right there. And then that pauses it. So you can see a preview of what you made before you want to save it. So when I hit save, you can title it, you can author it. And then there's these options right here that say like, make this animation public. I always tell the kids to uncheck that because I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't really want them to like have anything public. And then not suitable for kids. I just have it like everything unchecked. And then I say upload. Now for some of them, okay, it'll come up with this thing. Can everyone see that where it says like, I'm not a robot? Okay, good. So when the kids check it, sometimes they're prompted to do the picture where they have to click all the boxes and everything. And some kids don't get it right. So it's very frustrating because I've not gotten it right. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I totally missed that part. So that's just like an annoying thing to do. And then hit continue. Some of them don't even have to do anything. They just check that I'm not a robot and then they continue. And then done. And then here we go. It is on the screen here. So from here, if they want to save it on their computer, they actually have to press down with 2 fingers at the same time on their mouse pad to get that little window that says save image as. So when they do save image as, then they can save it onto their computer, onto their desktop. There's also another button they can press. I think it's control or it's one of the little side buttons and click on the mouse at the same time. And then that would also pop up the little window. So that's
Katie, is that a Chromebook thing? Like a function they have to do on Chromebook?
with the 2 fingers at the same time.
Yeah.
You can do it on a Mac too.
Okay.
I think. Hold on, wait. Yep, it works on a Mac. I say that because it's easier instead of kids trying to find a key, especially for my 3rd graders that are like, I don't know where that key is. Then I just say like 2 fingers at the same time, just tap down and then that little window shows up. And yeah, I have all of the steps for how to save here if you're interested in looking at those, and then all the tools as well. And then I saw like a lot of stuff in the chat. I haven't just checked it. I don't know if there was any questions.
Anybody have questions for Katie?
So, yeah,
Go ahead.
That was very interesting. It is funny that I actually think the tools, in some ways, are more sophisticated than Brush Ninja. I mean, is some of the student work too showed like line quality that looks a lot more like what you can get in a Sketchpad app or something like that, which I think is cool. It looks like it's set up a bit more like, digital painting apps, which is kind of cool. Like
yeah, I
that,
mean,
but
even
yeah,
like
yeah,
if you click up here, you can get other examples of what
yeah.
people have made.
Yeah, it's very hard to get any kind of a sketchy quality in Brush Ninja.
Hmm.
That's very nice. I would
The
definitely-
other thing with this too is like when you're using it with students, some of these up here aren't always necessarily appropriate. So that's just another thing to be aware of. I haven't had an issue with it with Flip Anim, but again, like I don't know what is up here.
Maybe they're just like randomly populated.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know if something would pop up that would be like triggering for somebody, or I don't know. But yeah, it's still like a cool app to know like how to use. And yeah, it's
One of
just,
the things I like that you like kind of brought up, Katie, is that if anybody's new to doing animation is a little bit intimidated by it, you don't have to be an expert. Like you can have the kids help you figure it out as you go, and just be upfront with them that you're learning it at the same time, and they're usually pretty good and pretty motivated to help, you know, discover new exciting functions. I don't know
Totally.
if any of the three of you have had that experience with your students this year.
Yes. Yes. Some of the key things that I learned about Brush Ninjas and some other things were taught to me by the students.
And I learned about Brush Ninja from one of the students. They were like using it as a drawing app. And I was like, what is that? And then I started clicking on it and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So
Did you know this is actually an animation app?
yeah. I also tell the kids just to click on things, see what happens, explore the tools. Because I feel like that's the best way to learn. That's how I learn. I just see what things do and then go from there.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie. I don't know if anybody else has questions. You can also put it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll hand it over to Naomi.
I feel like that is a great transition because I am not an expert, and I'm going to try and share my phone screen with you guys right now. So I'm going to be presenting on Stop Motion Studio, and unfortunately, Stop Motion Studio, probably the biggest con about it is that it is not downloadable on, I couldn't figure out a way to download it on my computer or onto any kind of Chromebook either. So that's kind of frustrating. So this is definitely for students who have phones, or if you have tablets. Stop Motion Studio also works on tablets. Some of the pros are that it is free. It's a super simple app to use. You can use it with any object. So I've got two little Legos here that I'm going to be showing you guys with, but really anything. You can use people, you can use clay, you can use, I mean, just moving around with it is super fun to kind of play with. So, and it is available on Apple and Android. So give me just a moment while I share my screen. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do, if you want, I suggest you kind of download this app and play with me right now. So this is Stop Motion Studio. Right. And you want the blue Stop Motion Studio. So there's a pink one also, but it is the Pro. And I think it's about like $5 or $9. And I mean, if you in the future want to invest, go for it. But for right now, we're just going to use the normal, the free version. So, and I'm going to come back over here. So the first thing, if you haven't downloaded this before, you're going to see just the new movie, and you'll see some little animals pop up, and go ahead and say, let's get started. And then you'll see the plus sign, and that's how you add a movie. So we're gonna go ahead and I'll give you guys a moment to get the app up and running. And if you wanna grab, you know, like some a surface that you feel comfortable on, and like some, you know, trinkets or like toys. Like I have, you know, all kinds of like weird things around my house, so any of them really can make great stop motion characters. Just give me a moment to get that uploaded. The Blue Stop Motion Studio. I think probably if you are here, you watched this student video that I did with some of my theater kids. I am not a visual arts teacher, so I am totally faking it right now. And I really thank you so much, Ian and Catherine. That was really, really wonderful to watch. I was looking at Brush Ninja. I heard about it because of this PD, so that was really, really helpful, and I'm excited to bring that back to my students. We don't have a visual arts program at the McKay, so it's kind of my job. So I'm doing what I can. So we've got our app coming up, and we're gonna go ahead and go into the new movie. So I'm gonna click on that new movie, and right now you'll see I've got kind of a blank canvas. I've got my two characters right here. And the first thing we're going to go into to kind of get started and get everything set up the way we want it is we're going to go into our settings. So that's this little gear right here. We're going to click on it, and then we're going to have all kinds of options. So most of these are really for, you know, more advanced. The video that I did with my students, we were all kind of just learning together, and we just kind of kept the settings as they were. But then once we started playing with it a bit more, we got to seeing what different things were. So the first setting that looks like a clock is the frames per second. So I usually suggest like 5 to 10 for beginners. That way you get a little bit more bang for your buck and time. But that's something that definitely, depending on how advanced your students are, or you know how long you want them to be working on it, that can be changed easily. We have the fade button, which I again just keep on the without a fade. We have the aspect ratio. This is kind of fun. Like I know a lot of my middle schoolers really enjoy TikTok, so they could, you know, we could make it like a TikTok video if we wanted to, but again, we'll just kind of keep it on the regular for what the preset is at. We also have the foreground. Now, a lot of these, as you can see, are locked. That again is if you want to go ahead and pay, you can activate the green screen, and that gives you some more options there. We have different filters. The one that we can use is black and white, but the other ones, again, you've got to pay for. And the quality, HD, works for me. And then the playback, which we're going to kind of leave for right now. And so we're going to say done. So we're ready now to get a little bit further. Anytime you forget what any of these buttons are, you can input your, I think somebody said, can you input your own backgrounds? You can, but again, that is, that's over here, where you can add images and add some backgrounds, you can add credits, but all of these, if you click on them, you'll see this pops up. So unfortunately, you are pretty limited in that area. And then again, if you have any questions about anything, there's all just the question mark will, if you click on that, pops up with a little description of what everything you need is. So we're gonna get into a few more settings, but to do that, we have to actually go in and start taking some pictures. So we're gonna click on this, where's my hand? Okay, this little camera up here. Yeah, so we're gonna get onto this camera up here. Now, I already have this set up, but yours probably looks more like this. So the way that you can get the grid is by clicking on this little grid down here. That really helps students to kind of line it up. As you can see, I've got a little setup going on here. I have my arm and I have a light, but especially if your students are not using like some sort of holder, and even, you know, mine, like it moves around super easy. So you definitely, sorry if I made anybody dizzy. You definitely want to make sure you use the grid because that'll really help students kind of line it up. And then again, as Catherine and Ian were talking about, we do have the onion skin setting here. And this is the line on the left. So I'm going to move this little dot right down to the middle. So then when I start and I take a picture, and then I move, see, I'm just moving, even just by moving the camera a little bit, you can see that onion skin. It looks blurry, but what that's really doing is helping you figure out how to set up your next shot. So there's also some more settings over here, which is in the bottom right, and over here we can go into our camera mode. Again, that's kind of the same thing, but this does have the option of using the front screen, which would make it kind of more in selfie mode. So if you were making like if you want to do like expressions of the face or something, you could do some really fun stuff with that. And then if we go into the mode, depending on what you choose, whether from auto to manual and in between, each time you're going to get a little bit different settings and some more, like we can only control in auto. We control the zoom, right? So I can make my creatures bigger, or I can flip them around, right? I can flip them upside down, turn them any which way. But we only want, so if we only are interested in that, then you're fine in just the auto mode. But if you want to get over all the way into the manual, you see you have a lot more options here. This can help you kind of control the with lighting, the white balance. So you guys can kind of play around, see what looks the best. And, my kind of harsh yellow light might look good with a little bit of shade. I think just the overhead I'm feeling right now. So we're gonna also see that you can kind of do the autofocus. And again, none of this is necessary. This is all kind of if you want to get a little bit more technical and you have a student who's super into and wants to play around with this. So we're gonna finish that. Another really fun feature that I wanna show everyone is the timer. So this, if you are, trying to work quickly, you only have, give students like a 5-minute make a movie kind of thing, a little bit easier than, and putting a little bit more pressure on everyone is I'm gonna give myself a 5-minute timer. So then here, what you'll see happen is once I press this, the go button, we're on. So it's gonna give me 5 seconds. Maybe I'm moving a little bit. Gonna take another picture, got another 5 seconds, take another picture. So here we are moving them just a little bit. I can still see my onion skin. And each time we see our characters getting a little bit further away from each other. And there we go. Now let's say that I come in here and when I'm moving them, I don't get out fast enough and I have my hand in there, as we can see. So I'm gonna stop this for right now. And we're gonna go back to our home screen. So we're gonna go back just by clicking our back button. And now we can see I've taken 9 photos. Oh, Amy, do you mind? I can check. I'm seeing that you No, you can definitely turn the onion skin off. You do not need to use the onion skin. The onion skin is helpful because then you know what your last shot was. So you know how much you want to move your character, or you know, if you're like zooming in or out on something, you kind of can control. It just gives you a little bit more control on where your shot was and where you're going. But it is not, oh, you mean right now, I'll turn off the onion skin so not making.
I was just curious, because I know it might like be disorienting to some students, but it's an option to have it on or off.
Totally. Yeah, I prefer having it on, but definitely I know some of my students do not like it, and it makes them feel a little bit like freer to kind of move however they want without the onion skin. So it's really totally up to whoever's using it. And I'll take the onion skin off because I know it is a little hard to look at. Sorry, excuse me. So let's say we are coming back over here and we're loving it, except for, oh, we see my hand is in one of the images. I apologize. Thought I turned this on to make it so it was do not disturb, but I guess that didn't work. So all we have to do now is click on the image, and then we can see, we can insert a picture if we want to. We can cut this. We can copy this image. Again, it says we can add audio that doesn't actually work, but we can do some editing. So we can kind of come in here and I believe most of these are you need to pay for, but we can add some text. So, oh, yep, that's what I thought. So yeah, most of these editing you do need to pay for, but you can just go in here and delete this image. So we can take that one out, and then it is no longer part of our movie. So another very frustrating function, I know that this kind of came up earlier, is how do we add sound to this? You see this microphone over here, and when I click on it, I haven't quite gotten the microphone to work for me yet. So I click on the first image, sometimes it'll let me like record. So it will let me record, but then every time I've tried to play it back, I've done it on other phones, I've done it on iPads, and I have not gotten it to work. So what I did with the piece that my students did, or what I've done with other like more finished work, is we go in and the students will record themselves, send me the link, and then we will put it all together in an iMovie. So a lot of editing in iMovie, just to kind of put together different work from different students, and then any voiceovers that they record, we can also put in over. This is pretty easy to share. So if we go back, we can come and, whoa. So we're going to like select over here, and then it's the box with the arrow. I'm gonna click on that, export the movie, and then you can see you can send it wherever you want, put it directly onto Classroom. You can email it, you can copy it, you can put it directly onto YouTube. So there's a lot of options on how to get the work to you. Any questions?
I did put this in the chat, but I just wanted to mention out loud that when I would do stop animation with students in the classroom, because of that, the need for it to be on an iPad or whatever, I did assign like specific devices to groups of kids, and that helped a lot.
Yeah, and we've done that before too. It's Stop Motion Studio has gotten a lot better. I used it several years ago, and it was, it didn't allow students to really record very much. Like the longest movies they could make were just a few seconds long, but it really has grown a lot. Stop my screen share.
So this is fantastic. I mean, I did put it on my phone and work on something while live time, and it is very easy to jump into.
It really is. And the kids also, just like you guys were saying with your programs, the students have taught me a lot, and it's super simple to use. The biggest problem is, that it's not, can't be used on the Chromebooks, which is really frustrating. So you do need to either, if you're in hybrid and you're in person, then it's like, okay, are we letting the students use their phones? But has been great because, middle school, we're just high in-person priorities. So students being able to use their phones at home has been great.
My students always got really excited about being able to bring their phone to class just for animation. They felt very like they were breaking the rules, and it was exciting.
Definitely.
I feel like that's I guess my biggest question is, and it's not necessarily a question straight to you, Naomi, but just in general, what are the pitfalls? Because I'm just thinking, phones, we got, phones, they got phones. And I mean, we have it. Like,
and you can always partner up with somebody. So it could be one person who's like doing the shots and the other person manipulating the moves if a student doesn't have a phone. There's definitely ways to do this. I think, what can the phone do that the Chromebook can't, So like, what are we tightening that? So I don't know, something to think about.
A question, if I could follow up again, one more. When you just did your demonstration now, so I guess you were doing it on an iPad? No. Yeah.
I was just using my phone.
You were just using your phone.
Yeah.
I somehow, at the beginning, thinking back, I couldn't do that. So I guess my point there is that shared very well. So
I found in the classroom that having purchasing like an iPad stand or a phone stand was really helpful, because otherwise you get kids like shaking all around.
I used, and as long as I was gentle, pretty good. I just happen to have it nearby.
Yeah, and this was like $5 on Amazon. I got it for the small group, just because we have like, they're kind of my theater kids, so I got it for them. I got it sent directly to their house. It was super easy, not too expensive. And then, you can use anything. So if you don't have Legos, like you can use people. I've seen some really fun work with people. So
that was the other thing my students loved, was being able to bring in like action figures from home, like bring in things to make their movies with.
Or you could draw, like you could have each part and then just build your whole composition slowly.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of options. Stop motion is great in that respect.
Have you done this virtually or like with remote students?
That's how I've been doing it.
Okay. Yeah.
So they send me their work and then we put it all together. So they've like had conversations and like, we plan it together, we have work time, and then they send me their work and we put it all together.
So speaking of that, any extra little things, and you might have covered this and I might have not totally been paying attention, but with sharing a finished video, any pitfalls with that, or not pitfalls, but just like tricky things, just you save it and email it.
Yeah, I think something that is good about this, I did anything that I put on YouTube, I do get permission from all the parents, but since the students' faces aren't on there, I don't know if I necessarily need to do that.
I just meant logistically, mechanically actually doing it. I wasn't even thinking about things like that, but that is something.
I mean, like file size issues or downloading issues, all that.
I haven't run into anything. It's been pretty easy. A student with an Android did have some trouble sending it to me, but we worked around it. It wasn't impossible. I think it was easier to get it to my phone than to my email. And that's a student who, I work with a lot. I don't mind that she has my phone number, but that would be something to think about, is how to get it to you.
But you've done it, so it works.
Well, it's doable.
Cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, I have promised the students that we'd be getting into this, so now, definitely.
Yeah, and I'll definitely be going towards the Brush Ninja and Flipanim.
Flipanim.
Phantom, it's such an awkward name.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely Flipanim, even like probably Friday with a particular group. I'm going to say, hey, try this one out, because especially some kids that now they're becoming aficionados of digital platforms.
Exactly.
Right?
Have you guys been using these with online or in person, or a little bit of both?
Primarily, totally remote, online. Although, and this is something we've talked about at Bama Zoom. I'm sort of worried now that we're going to I didn't want in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, suddenly nobody's bringing their Chromebooks certain days and stuff. But, I wanted to keep that continuity so that we continue to use these platforms. Maybe we branch out and combine by hand material with this, but I think it should stay and be in the habit of curating your work digitally and all of that. So, I'm trying to just blend it as we go, but primarily all this stuff has been out of necessity to do remote with all this,
If on the Flipanim and Brush Ninja, if a student were to do a paper markers, whatever image, can they put it onto that into there?
Yes, I feel like I'm just keep answering. I get that way, so please, somebody else jump in. But that's been something that I've actually been trying to force a few of my students to do. A lot of my kids that like to draw by hand, I'm like, let's bring this into Sketchpad 5.1, only because that's the District 1. It's on Clever. Oh, Brush Ninja now on Clever. Accessible on Clever. Forgot to announce that. Thank you. So, if you get a good copy of drawing on white paper, a good photo, right? And then sometimes it's better for them to do it on their phone and send it themselves. Then you can digitally render it. Then you can put it into Brush Ninja. So, I'm trying to get them, use as many mediums as you can. So yes, we're playing with that.
I don't think you can do it on Flipanim. You can't.
Oh no? Okay.
I was just clicking around. I don't think you can upload, like, if I were to draw a picture and then put that in there and then build off that, I don't think you can do that. But Brush Ninja, I think you can.
Yeah, you totally can.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can actually take a shot of yourself, like, a selfie with your webcam, and that'll be the background, and you can animate. I had a kid doing that. Wow, just like, but I just feel like there's a little more for kids that really are, they just want to draw by hand. And so when they go into a digital thing, they're immediately trying to track it. Flipanim seems to have, once you start delving into adjusting the tools, looks like you can get much finer line quality, which I think a lot of the kids that can think of would definitely. I try and dissuade them from using it as a drawing app. I'm like, you're going to frustrate yourself. It has all these other great things, and they're updating it a lot. But I'm like,
It seems like it might be the type of thing where you have to have like an introductory lesson level and then like like a medium and then an advanced, like, so they get used to using the app a little more throughout the span of the year. They can add new skills to it.
I think so. I mean, the great thing about a lot of these things is you can pretty immediately start doing something. And then from there, there's so much room that,
I went on and literally just scribbled and then add another layer, scribbled, add another layer, and it still looks cool.
But you know what?
Exactly.
And I really and Catherine, I really appreciate it because I had gone on to all of these things and was like, nah, I was like, oh, this is a great, okay, I'm sketching, but like, where's the animation? So I think my like page, didn't scroll down. And so like, that is huge. I wouldn't,
Brush Ninja doesn't fit all in one thing. So all day long with, when we're doing it, I'm like, okay, so scroll down a little more. And then, so they scroll down and there's this big sheet of stuff at the bottom that's like all this stuff we don't need to know. It's just like, it's not even advertised. I forget what it even is. I'm like, never go below the grade line. It's just, we don't need any of that. So it's sort of, you have to toggle up and down. It's a little frustrating.
I know a way around that. If they hit control or command minus, I think it's the same. And that's what I did when I did my presentation, when I was sharing my screen.
To zoom the whole screen out.
Yeah, I made it smaller. I minimized my screen so then I could see all the tools because the same thing happens with Flip Anim. If you open it up and you just have it at 100%.
It does change it.
So yeah, hit the command and then minus, and then that should then you can see everything. And I think it's the same on a Chromebook because I've done it with Chromebooks where I've told the kids to make their screen smaller so they can see everything.
Speaking of Chromebooks, one last thing I would throw in is like I've had, so I'm not familiar with Chromebooks, so it's always tricky to know exactly, you got to get the kids to fill everyone else in, sometimes get them to teach each other. So does anybody know what the keystroke is so there does seem to be like security settings or something that make things awkward sometimes. Like some kids haven't been able to, give permission to access the camera or unlock the camera, things like that. And sometimes there's been classes where you have to just like drill down through everything to figure it out. And each Chromebook's a little different. It seems to have like different security settings. Sketchpad 5.1 will not, for me, it saves everything I make on it. It won't save any of the kids' drawings. So they have to download them. And then that takes up space on the computer. So there are some, I wish there was like, I don't know, I need a Chromebook tech resource person to,
And sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Do you guys run into any like loading problems with your students and their internet access? Is it easily, I know a lot of things I'm like, oh, let's pull up this page. And they're like, I can't, it doesn't even do anything. Have you guys run into that?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
I guess I would say less problematic than you would expect, but there are some days where it's just like, it's just not going to work.
You just refresh the page, or what do you do?
That's always a good one.
I have them close it completely and open it back up, and sometimes that works.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's just like a glitch in the system, is what I say.
Yeah.
And then usually it works.
Yeah. I have had a few kids just recently that suddenly they can't download something. Like, you got to download it for a moment, put it onto like Padlet, and their disk is full. So we spent a lot of class time trying to figure out how to delete things on the Chromebook. And
I've had to teach, not students, but teachers how to clear your cache, clear your downloads, empty your trash. Those are like the three main things that I've found make life so much easier with these MP4s that are like clogging up your desktop, and like deleting everything you possibly can off your desktop, uploading things to Google Drive instead of keeping them on your desktop. All those things are really helpful. I mean, for students on Chromebooks, that's not necessarily a concern, but it can be helpful if they're using other devices.
Stop motion studio app. I want to try that out.
Yeah, and if you like, I mean, you could always come back to this, but there's also really great like tutorials on YouTube. And I mean, you really just open it and start playing, like choose some materials, and it's super fun.
Yeah, I've been showing the kids this stop motion animator PES. I don't know if you've heard of that artist, I guess. But they do a lot of stop motion that's really interesting, and it's a good like warm up video for them to like really get excited about it. They use like one of them's like cooking, and they cut up all these non-food items like a dollar bills and like pin cushions and dice, and they like make a pasta out of it. It's like, and then there's one with avocados. I don't know. PES.
It's really fun because it's great for kids who aren't confident in their drawing skills to be able to just manipulate objects and make art in that way.
They're still making decisions, design decisions, and problem solving, and all those things that you want kids to learn how to do.
So Katie, that phrase you just brought up, when I said that one day, doing all this digital stuff, and I'm starting to make headway with them on it, and it wasn't just scribbling anymore. It was like, and I said, so we're making decisions here. That's it. Focus on that. It's about that, and that now I remind them of it all the time. What did you decide to do there? Did you adjust that tool? Don't just use it out of the box. Make some decision about it. I found with Sketchpad, it's about restricting them to using less tools, because otherwise it's just this mess. Like, you get some cool stuff, but it's not directed sort of. So it's like we're using one shape tool in this color, or any shade of this color you want. But then with Brush Ninja, it's sort of like get them to branch out and use all the tools so that you're really taking advantage of the power of the thing, of the program, so that you can really transform things without doing so much work. So it's funny. But yes, making decisions, that therein is the art, right?
Totally. Yeah, I think limiting them, like having a focus, and then building on that one tool.
Yeah.
Today we're just going to do this one tool, and then building off that, because it's overwhelming to look at all the tools all at once.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. And then there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot about it. It was about using the tools. But yeah, I think that this has all been really great. Oh, the amount of vocabulary that they're learning this year from us. Yeah. Opacity, manipulation, adjustment. I mean, it's just like you don't really use those terms as much with more of the traditional media like collage and painting and digital. You're learning this whole new vocabulary.
Yeah.
The students are.
Yeah, I can just see it now. Later, maybe this year they'll be holding a wet paint brush. I can't get the opacity adjusted the way I want.
Why isn't this transparent? Where's the onion skin?
Yeah, right. Onion skin on this paper. Wow, this is great.
Yeah. Thanks for putting this together, Amy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for leading, and I think we can end it. We can end it there. I think we're pretty much almost at time. Again, if anybody has questions, you can send them into the chat, and we will be making this recording available as soon as I edit it all and download it in a format that doesn't crash my computer.
And will you share out our slides too with everyone?
Yes, yeah. So if you want to send any slides you have, I can add that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think I sent some to you, but I can resend it again.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you all. Have a good night and a good rest of your week.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
You?
Bye-bye.